Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and we're doing another podcast episode today. So if you're new to the channel, because I know there have been some new viewers popping up here and there, podcast is, or the Stitches and Scribbles podcast is where I talk about all the projects that I'm currently working on, upcoming events, just kind of what's going on with my life, stuff like that. I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button right off the bat. It really helps out my channel so that my videos can get out to more viewers. Also, as we go through the podcast, please don't hesitate to leave a comment. Comments also really help kind of boost the numbers that this video will get. So thanks in advance for interacting with this video. Likes also help, all of that good stuff. And I want to say a thank you to all the people who do consistently watch and like and leave comments. It really makes my day when I see comments from you guys. And it's just a lot of fun to read and respond to all of you. So thank you so much. For today's podcast, I do have a couple of finished objects to show you. I also have one active whip, but I'm mostly going to be talking about some plans for projects because I'm finally at a point where I have a little bit more filming time during the week, which works out very, very nicely. The school year is over. I am a substitute teacher during the school year, which means I don't go into school every day, but it's usually about twice a week, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're also trying to run a YouTube channel by yourself, that does turn into quite a balancing act of how to manage time for both videos and for subbing. So now that I don't have subbing on my plate for the time frame, I have a little bit more time to dedicate to YouTube and crafting and all of that stuff. I also have my first farmer's market this week. I do a farmer's market on Wednesday afternoons, kind of near where I live. And I set up a stand with my knit and crochet objects as well as some jewelry, some painted rocks, and kind of whatever I felt like making that week. So this is the first week. We're finally getting started with that. I'm planning some items I want to add to my shop, mostly plushies because the plushies are clearly my best-selling object. But I don't feel like I need to have a mad rush to create a bunch of stuff all at the beginning. I definitely have enough left from my previous event and even from last year to kind of get me started with the new market and hopefully new people coming to the farmer's market. So I'm excited to start that, but that'll kind of like come up again when I talk about some of my plans of things that I want to make. So I do have two finished objects to show you this week. One of them is this very simple baby blanket. It is made in half double crochet stitch, and I did a crab stitch or reverse single crochet border. I'll hold that up a little closer so you can see it. It kind of makes that twisty, almost looks like picot stitch at the edging, but you actually create it by working single crochet backwards. So if you're a right-handed crocheter like me, you usually work from right to left on a row. And for crab stitch, you work from left to right, and the opposite would be true if you are left-handed. Left-handed crocheters usually work left to right. For crab stitch, you'd be working right to left. So it kind of makes it so that the stitches like fold over themselves to create that kind of intricate looking edge. It's also a pretty sturdy edge. It has a little bit of stretch to it, but not a ton. So if you're looking for something to kind of stabilize your item, this is a really good choice. This was made in Bernat Softy Baby in the color gray. I do not have the yarn label anymore, so I can't tell you much else about it. I did purchase it from Joanne, but this item will actually be donated because I work with a group at my church. It's officially called the Prayer Shawl Group because most of what they make is prayer shawls. If you're new to the channel and haven't heard me talk about this before, prayer shawls are shawls that are given to community members who are going through a death in the family, an illness, just kind of any time where you would need comfort. They give out shawls to people who need them. Even though it's through a Catholic church, we do not exclusively give to parish members. We do rely on parish members to tell us who in the community kind of needs things, but we definitely donate to other groups or people outside the church, just because the mission is to provide comfort and prayer to those who are going through something tough. But there are, I think, a couple of local hospitals we work with, and the baby blankets go to the like NICU or emergency care for infants areas of the hospital. So they've started collecting baby blankets and baby hats as well in order to get those out to new babies who need them. So that's where this one is going, partially because I didn't have any specific recipient in mind for this gray yarn. And also because even though I do sell baby blankets in my farmer's market shop, I usually sell very colorful ones, so this is kind of not my usual look. So I figured because of that, it would be a good one to donate and give away to someone who needs it. So that's why this one is going in the donation pile, so that it can go to a good home. But I've really enjoyed being a part of the prayer shawl committee, even though I haven't had a lot of time to work on prayer shawls and donating items lately. I'm really excited to get back into it over the summer. I usually keep a basket of yarn that I got from the prayer shawl committee near the couch where we watch some TV in the evenings. So I think I'm going to try to make that my go-to like relaxing evening project, which it works out really well because prayer shawls are just rectangles, so are baby blankets. So I can pick a simple stitch or a at least repetitive stitch and just kind of work on it mindlessly while unwinding from the rest of the day. So you'll probably see more prayer shawl progress in the next couple weeks than I have been in the past few months, just because now I have a little bit more time to do stuff like that. I also currently don't have any outstanding orders. I just finished my only remaining one, which is really nice. Although I wouldn't be opposed to taking some custom orders from friends and family if the need arose. But it is nice to be at a point where I can just worry about my own projects and my things that I need to get done, and take a little bit of a break from working on timeline items or things that need to be given away to somebody else. But that does lead me into my next finished object, which if you've been watching my channel, you would have seen in progress last week and in a vlog that I posted last Friday. And that is the Twisted Toadstool hat. So this is a pattern that I purchased off of Etsy. I'll go ahead and put it on my head so you can see kind of what it looks like. But it is a big kind of whimsical wizard hat, but it looks like a toadstool. So the hat pattern is called the Twisted Toadstool, and it's by the Twisted Hatter, who has an Etsy store with patterns. I don't think she sells any finished objects, so it's just the pattern. But I love how this turned out. This one was a custom order for a friend who she actually last year at the Renaissance Fair decided she really wanted to do a mushroom themed costume. She ended up finding a pair of absolutely gorgeous, like flowy, lightweight pants that have mushrooms in the pattern on them. They're like very whimsical, a lot of like earthy colors, but then the bright red and white mushrooms. So she found a picture of this specific pattern on Pinterest and asked if I would make it in red and white for her. The original pattern picture, I think the one that she sent me was a recreation. It wasn't the like actual pattern image, but the actual pattern image has like a pink and green one and a like purple and teal one. So she wanted it in the classic red and white. I also made it for her in cotton, not only because the cotton would be a little bit cooler for the Renaissance Fair. It's not going to make you quite as sweaty as acrylic yarn would, but also my friend really has a preference for natural fibers. So I went ahead and did this in cotton for her, and I think it turned out amazing. I'm kind of wanting to make one for myself, but I don't think it fits with the mushroom costume that I already have kind of set up, because that one's a little bit more like mushroom fairy like, and I feel like adding this to that costume would just be too much, because I've already got wings and earrings and some hair accessories that I want to do, and a little like crochet guy that sits on my shoulder. So this will go to my friend instead, and then we can match at the Renaissance Fair. So this was probably my most exciting finished object of this week. I actually have it on display in my living room for now, until I can get it to her, because I see her pretty often, so it wasn't worth making like a specific trip to go see her and drop it off. I know I'll see her at some point before we go to the Renaissance Fair, so I'll just give it to her when I see her. In kind of the same vein, I, during that project, finished an entire cone of the red cotton yarn. And I held on to the cone, as you can see, and I'm kind of wondering if I should hold on to it to make something else with it. But I don't know what to do with it, but I know the second that I throw it away, I'll remember something cool to do with it. I'm kind of thinking Christmas tree things, but we'll see. Actually, this would be a great spot to leave a comment. If you have any ideas of what to do with the leftover cones from yarn, I would very much appreciate it. I'm not going to do any horns. I know that like that was kind of the first thought that I had of like, oh, speaking of costume pieces, like why not make like dragon horns? But I don't really like the look of horns in costumes, other than like, I guess if you were doing like a Maleficent costume where the character themselves has horns, then sure. But I don't think that that's really something that I would want to make. So if you have any other ideas of what to do with these little cardboard cones, I would very much appreciate it. I did end up doing a little bit of supply shopping this week. I actually had a really fun day on Sunday with one of my friends. We went to Half Price Books, where I came home with too many books, as usual. That's why I try not to go on like a regular basis, because I will always come home with something. But we went to Half Price Books, and then we went to Joann, and there were a couple of yarns that I don't think that they were actually on sale, but they were colors that I had never seen before, which could just mean that I wasn't looking very closely when I go to Joann. But since we were doing a more like leisurely shopping day instead of trying to get in and out, I noticed some more things. So the first thing I got is Red Heart Super Saver Stripes in the color Jewel Tone. So it's two different shades of teal, a magenta, a kind of mustardy yellow, and a burgundy maroon. I guess that's more maroon. I thought that this was a really unique color combination, so I got a couple skeins to make headbands and beanies, and maybe even a scarf for my vendor shop. I always forget the word that I'm looking for when I talk about that. The word for like all of the stuff that I have. My stock, I guess. I don't what word am I looking for? I can't remember what it is. But I wanted to make things to add to my items that I sell. So I thought that this was just a really unique color palette. And I like that even though it's bright and fun, it's still very fall, with the like mustard yellow and the maroon in there. So I thought it would be a good color palette to add to my shop, because I don't really have anything like that. And then the other yarn I got is the Karen Simply Soft Speckle in the color Vintage. This is kind of a beige base with pops of green, yellow, blue, a reddish orange, a pink, and I think maybe some purple. It looks like purple only happens when a pink spot is overlaid with a blue spot. So I don't think the purple was intentional. But I thought that this would make a very cool baby blanket. So I wanted to get some of those. Although I think that's a baby blanket that I would keep to gift to somebody. I wouldn't necessarily put it in my shop, but I kind of always have baby blanket supplies laying around just because I'm definitely at the age where my friends are having kids. So I like having options when it comes to making baby items, preferably if those options are already in my house so that I don't have to go out looking for things. So that was why I purchased that one. I thought it would be a good color palette to kind of add to the mix of stuff that I have for baby blankets. This is turning into a very rambly video. I really only have one whip to show you just because the mushroom hat and the baby blanket kind of took up most of my crochet time the past week-ish. But I did start a prayer shawl. So I'm doing this in double crochet clusters, so it's kind of worked like granny stitch, but there's no chain stitches between the clusters, and you only do 2 double crochet stitches instead of 3, but it's looking a little bit granny square-ish. I just wanted something a little bit like lacy looking just because of the color. This color is, I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby in the color Fuzzy Slippers. So it's a very pale, it's probably looking just white on camera. I don't know how else to show it to you. I'm trying to like shade it a little bit. But it's a kind of off-white base with some like creamy yellow and light like rose tones in it. So very soft, very feminine. I think it's going to make a beautiful prayer shawl, but I thought that a kind of lacy looking stitch would best complement the colors that were in there. It is a variegated yarn, it's not self-striping, but the variegation sections are pretty large, so if you were making a smaller item, it probably would show up as self-striping instead of patches of color. But that is my current whip because I'm planning on diving into a bunch of new projects. There's one more thing I wanted to show you with that though. This was just kind of a win for the week. I was really proud of myself when I figured this out, but I learned how to hand wind a center pull cake. I just did this sitting on the couch while I was working on this project and thought it was pretty neat. So if you would like a tutorial for how to do that, I am hoping that this summer I can get to some like mini tutorials that I can post on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, I guess. I have posted Instagram Reels before, but they were just my reposted TikToks. I needed to start trying to do that with YouTube Shorts, but I don't know how the music copyright stuff works. I think it's fine because I've seen other people post shorts that definitely have copywritten music in the background. So I'll just kind of have to see how that works. But if you also experiment with YouTube Shorts, let me know what your thoughts are on it, because I would love to try it and get my like short form content out to more people, but I'm kind of hesitant on that. But starting new projects. So I have one more Renaissance Fair item that I want to make myself that I'm hoping I can start next week. Probably won't get to it this week because we've got another trip coming up, which should be pretty low key. We're just visiting family, but it does, there's travel time. I'm not going to take a complicated project with me on something like that. So I want to make myself I'm envisioning like a whimsical sun hat for the Renaissance Fair. Not quite as elaborate as this guy, maybe something a little bit lower profile, but one in a neutral color where I can switch out hat bands to make it match different costumes. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for. I think I have a pattern picked out, but I want to kind of shop around a little bit. It'll also probably get its own vlog, so you'll see it when I do the whole thing. But the other project that I want to start this week is making some axolotl plushies for my vendor fair. So if you don't know what an axolotl is, it's a water-dwelling salamander that I believe is native to South America. They look like real-life Pokemon. They are very silly looking, and they're definitely having a moment on the internet. I think they have been for a while. I think axolotls have been popular for about 5 years now. But they're very cute, and I found a no-sew pattern for axolotls on Instagram that I really want to try. So that's probably what I'm going to work on this afternoon, after I finish this podcast and all of that. And then I'll have another plushie to add to my craft fair stuff. So that'll be very exciting. So between like wrapping up my Ren Fair prep and making some plushies, I've got a lot of projects for videos planned out that shouldn't actually take that long, which hopefully means that I can get to a point where I'm pre-filming my Friday videos, and then like when the school year starts, I'll only have to worry about podcasts filming on a weekly basis, if that makes sense. I know I always say stuff like that of like the goal is to get really ahead. Usually doesn't work out that well for me, so we'll see if that actually gets to happen with all the other stuff that I'm trying to balance. But other than this trip and like 4th of July, I don't really have any other like big events happening this summer. I don't have any more weddings to go to. The only one I have is in November, and that's going to be like a very low-key wedding for one of my friends. So I think I might actually have a summer where I can really focus on crafting and stuff. So fingers crossed that that's actually true. But on that note, since I have so many things I want to get done this week before going on my trip, I'm going to go ahead and end the podcast here. Thanks in advance for commenting if you chose to do that. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can be notified of all of my crafty content as it comes out. I post podcasts on Wednesdays and other videos on Fridays. Those other videos are things like vlogs of projects I'm working on. They might be quiet craft with me videos where I get something done and you get something done, just so that you kind of have a buddy while you're working on things. Sometimes I do tutorials and just kind of whatever I'm feeling like doing that week. If you want to follow me on other social media, that information will be in the description box below for you to check out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.